Patrick, it's good to see you. Ladies and gentlemen, I am now joined by my old friend and hockey buddy, Patrick McKinlay, who, where are you from, Patrick? Tell the good people a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, I'm from just outside Toronto, from Canada.
I'm sorry?
Just outside Toronto.
No, I said I was sorry.
Yeah, Canadian, fellow Canadian.
Hey.
Yeah, cheers. I'm from Canada as well. Just from outside Toronto, a place called Oakville, for those who are familiar with Oakville. I think probably guys who are going to be watching this, hopefully we get a lot of traction with English teachers here. So
well, I hope so. I don't know who's watching this, but I mean, it's going to be a series and it's going to be on YouTube. So it's there for it'll be there posthumously when I'm gone.
Yeah.
And for posterity.
Yeah, To, I just want to say that I'm pumped to have this conversation with you, because when I saw this, I told you this when we were speaking, but when I saw that you had taken sort of the initiative to get this conversation rolling and get people sort of together, not in government per se, but from teachers and everybody.
Yeah.
I was really excited because I've been following the story through the newspaper, and 2030 bilingual, I felt like, hey, this is something I can get behind. And
yeah, of course, Patrick is talking about Vision 2030, the 2018 Premier Lai wanting to create an English bilingual Taiwan by the year 2030. And I use the hashtag Vision 2030 TW to kind of underscore all the work that I'm trying to do. And yeah, that's what brought Patrick back into my life, because he lives in Kaohsiung now and we haven't played hockey together in years. But like you said, go ahead, Patrick. You're interested in Vision 2030.
Yeah, anything I can do to help. And I think hopefully we can get a little bit of traction for you and get some more teachers on here and everybody, and just yeah, I mean, it's a cool goal. The government kind of stated it, and we'll talk about what's going on with that. But happy to chat with you. Whatever I can add, hopefully I can add some value in this. But
well, first of all, I guess the hamburger poll question is, do you think it's possible for Taiwan to, let's say, achieve a national average of 750 on the TOEIC score by 2030? Their national average right now is about 540, 550.
Yeah.
So can we, and it's a total 990. So can we bump it up in 10 years? You don't seem too confident about this, lad.
No, it's not that. It's a coin flip. Like, I think there's a lot of unpredictables. I don't know. I'm an optimist by nature, and I'm going to be an optimist for this as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm going to say, yeah, but I guess, I don't know a whole lot about it. I'm just kind of joining the conversation now. And as I said, I was reading through the newspaper, as they put articles out, and I saw, there's different sort of KPIs, like indicate key performance indicators, ways of measuring it. And if they're talking about government websites being bilingual and stuff like that, like the fact that those haven't changed yet it's one thing, but that's an easy fix. Like that shouldn't be too difficult. So those types of things can change. But if you're setting the marker of what'd you say? 700.
I said 750, but actually I'm not setting the marker. I'm just throwing that out there for other people to consider it as a marker.
Cool.
My marker is quite simple. You're not afraid to use English anywhere at any time and talk about anything with anyone. That's my marker, the no fear marker.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, I know it's going to be hard to measure, because we want to get away from that testing culture, but at the same time, you want to measure it in some way, like what doesn't get measured, doesn't get managed. And
okay, so you are king of Taiwan ESL for the day. You get to make one decree. You're going to change one thing about how Taiwan learns English. What's it going to be?
Oh, so if I were to change one thing.
Yeah.
Wow. I think it's probably don't put me on the spot like that.
Okay, I'll throw one thing out, and maybe I'll ask every guest this and try and come up with a different thing myself.
Sure.
I would switch from a letter grading to a pass-fail.
Sure.
Yeah, in the junior and senior high schools. Elementary school, I'm not concerned about. But what junior and senior high school, the fear, the pressure and everything is not helping at all. So, and those are formative years as far as fear goes. You're worried. Your social awareness is really peaking, and your radars are constantly looking out to, especially as a Taiwanese teenager, to protect your face, and using English as a loss of face. So I would switch it to a pass fail, and now how you pass would be a very different thing, and I'll talk about it with another teacher another time. But that's my decree as King To of Taiwan ESL. To all junior and senior high school English courses would become a pass-fail system instead of a letter grading.
Cool. Yeah, well, I think I saw something in one of these articles where they were talking about a change being like, instead of teaching English grammar using Chinese, they're going to use English to teach grammar. And I just was rolling my reaction was like that too. And I'm actually, I'm pretty, in terms of grammar, I would just rid of it. The grammar translation method and all that. I think once you've got a decent level of fluency and a big bank of words to use, then maybe go to grammar. Like for me, if I'm going to write a book or an article, I may reference some grammar rules. Like there's maybe some basic structure that like SVO or something, like subject, verb, object, whatever. But I don't, I think that the focus on grammar, and I've seen this in the newspaper to their credit, that they're looking to take the credit or take the focus away from grammar and away from spelling and put it more on verbal.
Yeah,
that's
something that people don't understand, is they put way too much emphasis on grammar. But like, say you're a businessman in Canada, and you have to do some business with a company in Taiwan. And you have to make the cold call. Right. You don't even know how to say ni hao.
Yeah.
Your Mandarin is non-existent, and you're calling Taiwan and you're freaking out. Oh my God. I hope I can find, sorry, I'm from Canada. Do you speak English? If that person says yes, how I help you, you don't care that they forgot the word can, or they didn't know how can I help you. Oh, I found somebody that speaks English. Let's communicate. I don't care if you get the grammar right or wrong. The only people that care if you get the grammar right or wrong are test givers.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah.
Okay? So, did you I remember my first class here. I opened up the book and it was talking about modals and gerunds or gerunds, however you call it.
Yeah, you had to learn that.
What are those?
I know.
I don't know.
I was lucky with me, like I have a buddy of mine, he's Taiwanese, and right before I started teaching, I didn't mention this at the beginning, but I teach at an adult school. So I teach primarily adults. I've also worked in Bushiban with kids, so I'm kind of familiar with the model. Not a lot of experience, but a little bit. But anyway, I was out with a friend of mine, he's a Taiwanese guy, and he told me, Pat, a lot of Taiwanese have been spent a lot of time learning vocabulary and studying grammar for a long time. He said, we just need a place to speak.
Yeah.
And I never forgot it. That was 2 years ago. And for me, it was like, okay, I can take on that role as a facilitator and do everything in my power to make sure that when you come in my classroom, the energy's right. And you're never going to run out of things to speak about. And I think that's really important. Like, people need to spend more time speaking. When I talk to the high school students and say, what are you doing in your English class or the junior high? It's basically the teacher, forgive me, I know this isn't the same in all the classrooms, but a lot of them are saying that the teacher basically just reads to them and they're all quiet, or puts a list of vocabulary words on the board with, the Chinese translation.
It's definitely not working. I've been here 20 years and there hasn't been the needle has not moved at all.
Yeah.
At all.
Yeah.
And so 13 years ago, I left the Bushiban business and I struck out on my own, and, teaching odd jobs part-time, not really investing my soul into it, because my partner and I started developing Infinity Key. Originally, it was called the Six, and then Plan B, and then Infinity Key. I mean, we've been doing this a long time.
Plan B, eh?
Plan B, yeah. Well, Plan A isn't working.
Fair enough.
But I think I've got it down now. But an interesting point that you made earlier about teaching English in English, or teaching English grammar in English. You work in an adult school. There are Taiwanese teachers at your school, right?
Yeah.
And the big lecture hall, the one that seats 50 or 60 people, that's the one they use.
Yeah, their classes would be bigger for sure, because
and they're speaking on a microphone in Chinese, writing in Chinese, and all the students are just taking notes, copiously taking notes, right?
I think
Right.
what's going on in classes, but I'm sure that exists in a lot of places.
Yeah. I just SMH, shaking my head. Meanwhile, I'm doing a conversation class on the other side of the school with 12 people, and they're so animated and so excited to be speaking English and all the different role plays or whatever I would bring to it. The secretaries would come to my room and go, shh.
Nice.
Right. And I'm like, it's a conversation class, and I have 12 people excited about speaking English, and you're telling me to shh.
Yeah.
I knew I wasn't long for that business.
Yeah, the thing is, I find, when you get into conversation, like if you're speaking in a foreign language, you stumble upon those words that you don't know.
Yeah.
And you try to find that word and try to use it. And that's where I think you're more likely to remember it, because you're bringing it into context. I think you do have to take the extra step of, writing it down or whatever. You keep a vote. You were showing everybody in the QQ, like how you.
Oh, the vocab collector. Yeah.
Yeah. Like you have to take the extra step, because if you're speaking Chinese and then you don't know a word, and you ask somebody, hey, like, what's the word for this? If you just say it one time, you're probably not going to remember it.
No, you're not going to remember it. No.
Yeah,
it's vocab, grammar, listening, reading, writing, speaking. These are all learned through experience, not through study. And you need environment. You need time to participate in those environments. And you can't let 6 days go by without using any English until your next class. I mean, this is what started as the Six and the Plan B and was that I was trying to find ways to let people use English every day. That didn't take a lot of time, but invested that time wisely.
Yeah, it makes sense. Like, I often say, just to kind of encourage some of my students, like, it's so inspiring when somebody can speak 2 languages or 3 languages, because especially nowadays, if you want like a pizza or something like that, Uber Eats, bang, it's at your door. If you want anything you want, you can get it really, really quick. You want a girlfriend, you go on a website, you swipe, and everything's fast. But a language, there's really no shortcuts. Like it's not.
There's no shortcut, but there's the wrong way of doing things.
Right. Yeah. You definitely got to
walk in circles.
No, you're absolutely right. Yeah. There's ways of doing it absolutely incorrect ways, but no matter how you skin it, you have to put in the time, which is, which something that I respect, because it's, obviously if your language is good, you have to be in it, whether it's listening to videos, speaking with people, like you just have to put in the time.
Yeah. The formula is practice plus time equals success.
Yeah.
That's how we got better at hockey. That's how I get better at acting.
Yeah.
If you want to be a ballet dancer, how are you going to become a ballet dancer, Patrick?
I'm not, but.
But it would be practice plus time, right?
Yeah.
Guitar player, anything that is art-based. And language, ladies and gentlemen, both Patrick and I are here to tell you, language is art, not science.
Yeah, 100%. And furthermore, I say it's not rocket science. Like if
it's not rocket science either.
An 80-year-old or someone, and you put them in the jungle for 2 years or 3 years, they could tap into the language. They would pick up the pattern and tap into the language. I don't think if you put somebody in front of a computer and said, program this big thing and figure it out, that they would necessarily get it. But language, we're all wired for it. It's just a matter of being within it, being in the time, I think.
Okay, so getting back to my original question to you, King of ESL Taiwan for a day.
Sure.
What's the law you're going to enact as king? Remember, the next king could pull it down, so make it a good one.
Get that grammar out of here.
Grammar classes. You're ridding Taiwan of grammar classes and the that black and red and green grammar book.
You know what? You know what I'll do?
Ban the book.
I'll take a quote that a lot of people have quoted in education, but guide on the side, not sage on the stage. I think
explain, please.
Yeah, the way, the printing press was invented in what, the 1500s or 1600s or something.
A little earlier.
Sure. What 1400s or the 15th century?
The turn of the millennium, I believe.
Either way, the book, once they started getting printed, it used to be the sage, the wise guy on the stage, because he was the guy with the scrolls. But once they had the printing press, everybody could have access to the information, access to the book. And that fundamentally changed the role of a teacher. No longer do you need, in some aspects, you need lectures, but in language learning, I don't think you need long drawn out lectures. Like you said, the teacher in front of the board, the guide on the side, allow
the guide on the side. Okay. So I thought you said guy on the side. Guide. Yes. Now I see it. Yeah.
The guide on the side, not the sage on the stage.
Yeah.
You don't have to stand there and preach and speak, especially now you're competing.
You're a coach.
Yeah. And
encourage, enhance.
Yeah. That's what it is. Yeah. Motivation is such a big piece of it. Like if you're motivated and you're in the right state of mind, you're going to learn properly.
Yeah. So what question would you ask all of the second language learners that listen to the QQ, all my great following here? What question would you have them consider for themselves moving forward with their English journey? What should they ask themselves?
Well, are they enjoying it? I think is the main thing. I hear a lot of people talk about, good jobs and all that stuff, but ultimately, I think language is so much more than the economic benefits. I know that's something to consider, but my Chinese is horrible, but the process of learning has really opened my eyes a lot. Like any new word, there's so much to uncover when you're learning a language. So I know there's a lot of people that enjoy the process. So if they're enjoying it, keep going. And
yeah, that's a really, really solid thing to bring to the people, Patrick, because we don't learn if we're not enjoying it. We're forced like that. That's why I don't bother with elementary kids. They don't want to be there.
Yeah.
And for years and years and years, I resisted junior and senior high school. I only wanted to work with adults because they're there. They've made the choice. They're not forced to be there by their parents or their schools. Right. Yeah. But, and also why I've tried to make Infinity Key a fun place to learn English. So that the pass fail, you just, put in the time and you pass. That's all. Just put in the time.
Yeah, makes sense. There's another thing when you were talking about like the fear, which is a huge thing. Mm-hmm. One thing I was considering, with 2030, because 10 years, I don't know if there's going to be some kind of something that we don't know about, some kind of like AI. When you take chatbots, they're really getting good, and if all of a sudden that comes in, I think that really helps with that aspect of fear, because if you're speaking with a chatbot or a robot, if you will, or AI, they can look at your mistakes and you don't have to worry about losing face. It's not say it in front of a teacher with a teacher.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's I think the concept of loss of face it's so deeply ingrained. It's 3,000 years of culture. We talked about it in the first QQ, and that's going to be the hardest thing to lift. But I mean, do you have anything that you're afraid of, or that you were afraid of and that you conquered? Do you have anything in your life that you can share?
Horses. I've always loved horses, but I've been a healthy fear of them. But anytime I get the opportunity, I ride them, but I feel it. And another one is snakes. And I remember they had snakes at my college, and I thought, I'm going to deal with this. I'm going to conquer this fear. And I put my hand out, and the guy put the big snake in my hand, and I could feel the blood in me just rush. And that's enough. Take it back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And now, could you do it again?
Grab a snake?
Yeah.
I do it just to feel what that fear feels like again. But
Yeah, and it would be easier the second time, right?
I hope so.
Like anything that you're afraid of, fear of flying, fear of water, fear of intimacy, doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Whatever you're afraid of, try it, face it, do it, and do it again, and do it again, and soon you're swimming.
Yeah.
You know,
And even if you are
that's
scared,
how we
I
face
think
our fears. So Taiwanese people are afraid of two things, I think. Making mistakes. Well, basically, they're afraid of losing face. Now, how one loses face, there are several ways that can happen. A mistake is just one. But even deeper is the idea that using English, just using English, is showing off. Taidaren, too big of a person, you know. I can 20 years I've been here, I can count on this hand, and I wouldn't need all the fingers to tell you how many times I've heard Taiwanese people speaking English on the street, not with an overseas born Chinese person who speaks perfect English, just two Taiwanese people or three Taiwanese people walking down the street practicing their English.
So I gotta ask.
I'm shocked. I'll walk up to them and say, "Who told you to do this? This is amazing." Yeah. Well, always. I've done it 3 times.
I've noticed since I've been here, I feel like the country is very, very hungry to learn English.
Mm-hmm.
Did you get
lots of money on it?
Did you get that same feeling like 20 years ago?
Oh yeah, even more so.
Even more so, really?
20 years ago, people were asking you to teach them privately all the time. Like they'd see you in an elevator and they'd approach you, you know, and teach you privately.
Interesting.
To teach privately.
Yeah.
Yeah, they are hungry. Well, I mean, it's a very intelligent population here.
Yeah.
80, I don't know, I was going to throw a number out there, 80% post-secondarily educated, 50% with master's degrees of this generation coming up.
Yeah.
They yearn for knowledge, and they're not afraid to be students, but the way they plan their time, trying to learn by rote, is just ridiculous, and it's a waste of time. Factor that, the face thing, it just snowballs on them. And that's why I say in 20 years, the needle hasn't moved. Now, has it moved in the opposite direction as far as motivation? I don't know. Population's getting smaller. The internet, like you were talking about, things like Chatbox, but things like Netflix, everything like that.
Yeah.
English is just more available to people now than it was 20 years ago.
Right. Yeah.
Downloading West Wing episodes through LimeWire, and it would take 2 days to get an episode. I mean, it was pretty tough back then.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's one of the things you have to be watching a TV show or a movie or movies at least, or
yeah. Well, that's one of the basic XPs that I'm going to be suggesting to all people is watch 20 minutes, watch a TED Talk, watch a sitcom, but turn the subtitles off and just focus on what you do understand. Don't worry about what you don't. It's just listening practice.
Yeah.
When you think about it, unless you've lived overseas, a Taiwanese person has actually zero experience in listening to naturally spoken English.
Yeah.
When we talk to them, like I'm talking now, because I know I'm talking to a Canadian dude, but my audience is Taiwanese, so I'm trying to speak more slowly, choose simple words. When I find myself speaking too quickly, I'll slow down. Right. When they go to movies or watch HBO, subtitles. So they're reading that, thinking in Chinese. Yeah. There's no natural listening. And listening is the key to learning language. So simple thing you can do every day, watch Friends, but turn off the subtitles. And just watch it. Just watch it. Don't freak out when you're not understanding. Oh, it's too hard. I'm so stupid. No. Just relax. I used to call this exercise BKS listening. BKS is Banking Sang, which is Banking Song, Taiwanese for relax.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, BKS. I always say, what does BKS mean? I say Banking Song, and they laugh.
Is that like Taiyu?
Taiyu, yeah. I use more Taiyu than I do Mandarin. So
Nice.
I try
Nice.
to. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Love it.
All right, sir. Well, I want to thank you so much. If you're in Kaohsiung and you see Patrick wandering around, just grab him, talk to him. He's a really smart guy and wants to help you with your English. He's not going to plug his school though, so I don't know why. Maybe
Still
they'll
we'll
give
get
you-
contact as this moves forward. Yeah, weekly. This is really cool, and thank you for taking the initiative here. And
Oh, my pleasure, man. I really appreciate it. You're my first guest, so you'll have your picture up there in the Hall of Fame one day. Yeah. Okay. So thanks again, Patrick, and we'll talk soon.
we'll
Cheers.
chat soon.
Okay, I've stopped the recording.